Good evening. It's hashtag spooky season. Halloween is right around the corner, which is why I have this on for this video today. Welcome back to another episode on Xenith Trading. Today is actually going to be a little special. I'm going to dive into how I nailed this entire range within the past 2 weeks on both NQ and SPX, down to the lower time frames and from a macro perspective that we typically discuss utilizing the weekly watch list and daily thoughts as well. I was initially going to write a Substack. Sorry guys, it's getting I was initially going to write a Substack, but I felt it would be much easier for you guys to visualize as I go through this on a video rather than just writing everything out and sharing screenshots. However, throughout the past 2 to 3 weeks, I have shared a lot of intraday analysis and a lot of important messages that I send within the Discord. So instead, I'm actually going to timestamp those and put them in the video as we go along. This is really meant for an overall summary of what we did the past couple of weeks. It was a lot. I'm not gonna lie. The price action was beautiful. The price action may have seemed tough to other people, but for us, we were very patient. We nailed it. All we needed really were to follow the king levels. That's pretty much it. So I'm going to dive into everything that we did. I'm going to show you guys exactly which levels we used that provided the most importance throughout this range, and we're going to go from there. I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, guys. Now, before we begin, if you guys enjoy my content and you like the value that I bring to this platform, please, you can actually just scan this QR code to my right, and you can find the links to our other platforms. Now, again, like I mentioned earlier, everything that I'm going to discuss in this video has been discussed within my community throughout the past couple of weeks. The whole point of this video is more so to provide you guys a full summary that you can reference when you guys are trying to study how I traded this and how I normally trade really any type of price action. The past couple of weeks has just been extremely special due to the fact that it's been range bound for quite some time. And to the masses and to normal average traders, it may be very tough to trade, especially on an intraday basis. And I'm going to show you exactly how we flipped sentiment from time to time and how I finally nailed that Wednesday dump and how I projected it to this specific day by observing all the previous sessions. Now, over the past couple of weeks, I've been observing pretty much every minute of the entire sessions, which includes overnight, pre-market, and RTH. Now, you guys know I typically wake up pretty early, around 6 to 7 a.m. The first thing I do is look at NQ, and the first thing I do is look at the overnight action, just so I can get an idea of what to expect today and how the overnight action panned out from the previous day's close. So at the moment, you're seeing the entire chart for the past month or so. A lot of the prep that went into capitalizing on Wednesday's downside move came from a week or two worth of preparation. This wasn't just an overnight sudden thing that I spotted. This was remembering exactly how we traded each session, remembering how pivotal my levels are at certain prices, and how we use those levels. When we start with this chart first on NQ, you're going to notice the 227125. This has been the most pivotal level that I've provided you guys this entire year. I've had this level drawn before we even tested this for the first time. Since then, this has been used as a macro directional pivot throughout the entire year since we've traded at these prices. If you mark it on your chart, you'll see and understand why that's the case. Now, I want to go back to the initial time before we actually broke this once again early in October. Now, we were trading within this 937 to 2271 range for quite some time again. And I told you guys, every time we're under 2271, it is easy range. It is a money printing range. It's possibly my favorite range on NQ out of the entire history of NQ. I'm not even kidding. Trading between 19937 and 2271, I've made the most money on NQ compared to any other ranges that we've traded. And when we went back down under 2271 in early October, I told you guys this is the money making range. And look what happened the moment we dumped from 2271. It was a 200-point move, sorry, over 300-point move in a single session, all the way straight back down to 19937. Now, for the purpose of this video and for simpler visualization for you guys, I don't have all of my levels on here. I just have the most pivotal levels that we've been using throughout the entire range here. So the shift in price and trend and how we came to this past week was a result of the entire history of trading NQ within these ranges. I understand the strength of each level that I have between the range of 2271 and 19937. It's easy, right? We were studying this range for quite some time as well. And the most important part is that 19937 on the last attempt, before we started breaking out again, we never broke back below it. And this held overnight. I forgot what this was. It was some overnight news that came in. This might have been Israel and Iran related. I don't recall. But there was something that happened that night that wicked it under 19937 again and then bounced it back. And that was all you needed to see. Now, why is that important? Why am I mentioning something that happened on October 7th? Because the next morning on October 8th, I told you guys to buy the dip at 070 and 080. That was the range. This range right here. And I'm going to try to zoom down to lower time frames to show you guys what day it was. Here we go. This was where I said to buy the dip on NQ. And if you guys remember, I drew this box out as well. And now you see that label, it says strong by the dip area. This was on the morning session of October 8th. Why am I mentioning that now? Because later on, as I go through this range, you're going to see how pivotal this area became on Wednesday. And again, all of these things in terms of my levels and how price reacts at certain points and ranges and pivots, these are things that I always remember because I observe them so much and I trade them so much. And I can always quickly reference back to them, even if it's 2 months down the line. Now, you guys may not always remember these things, which is why I try to remind you every time it becomes important in real time. So this is the day that I mentioned to buy the dip on and take longs off 070, 080. That same day, we saw a move right back into 271. Within 1 hour of open, we saw a 200-point move right back into that 2271 area. Of course, we pulled back and we bounced off 166. Oh, I remember this day so clearly now. 166 bounced and then sent it into the close back above 2271. Okay? The fact that you even get a daily close above it is already pretty bullish on such a significant level as 2271. You get some overnight action, it pulls back. By the open, it's already holding 2271 again. It's already reclaimed. You get your initial chop below the pre-market range, and then it finally goes again. This is going to start leading into the past couple of weeks now. As I mentioned not too long ago, when we finally saw confirmation above 2271, which I believe was after this day, I had mentioned to you guys that I would love to see NQ range above 2271 for some time, because we never actually traded above 2271 for very long. The same type of velocity that we saw on the upside, which was pretty much 200 to 300 point moves 3 or 4 days in a row into new all-time highs, was the same type of velocity we saw on the downside. So we really never spent much time trading at these prices, which I have many levels up here, all the way into all-time highs and even new all-time highs. But for me to properly gauge the strength of my levels and really come up with a playbook for a range, I need to see price range bound for some time. And that's exactly what I got. So we initially got this range here earlier in October into mid-October. We break out into 650, 638. These are all old levels, by the way. These are not new. I've had these levels on here for God knows how long, for months. And then we finally get another downside move to fill this imbalance and break the entire range right back down into 2271. Now, this is October 15th that we're looking at. And this is the range that we're going to focus on, because this is where everything pretty much started that led up to the point that we saw this past week. Now, If you guys remember on this day, this was bullish to me, 2271. Then we got the retest of it. And on this very day, Wednesday of October 16th, okay, this is Wednesday of October 16th, not long after the open, everyone and their mother were shorting the break of 2271. What did I tell you guys that morning? I said sellers are exhausted right within this bottom. And I know everyone was shorting because I saw it on FinTwit and I saw it in the communities that I'm a part of. Everyone thought we were going to see more downside. And this is the day that I told you sellers are exhausted, and I gave it to you real time right at the bottom. Now, I'm not going to recap this entire thing because I've already done that for you guys on stream in Discord. And for those who are not part of the communities, if you subscribe to my Substack, you'll see the Substack that I published specifically talking about this day that we traded. I nailed the exact bottom on NQ on that day from being able to spot sellers are exhausted. Sorry, I have to keep scrolling back now. Okay. From this very day, I was able to spot that sellers are exhausted intraday. And we took our first call on QQQ right before this pop. Literally to the minute, right before the pop. And from then, all the way into the close, we went 8 for 8 on calls with QQQ and SPX. All we did was just keep reloading the same contract until the final move towards the close where we nailed like another, I think, 100 or 200% move on it. 8 for 8. The entire session, all I did was buy the dip, while everyone was so bearish on that day. Looking at it from this perspective, without me telling you, all you needed to see is another reclaim of 2271. The moment they tried to sweep this level and immediately reclaim the level is all you needed to see to be bullish. Even if you didn't see my message or didn't follow me or believe me that I said sellers are exhausted down here, the moment they broke back above and closed it intraday is all you needed to see. And you can see the entire time. Another bounce right around 11 a.m. Another bounce right around close to 12 p.m. And it just kept happening, right? These are now bullish retests. And all they're doing is sending it throughout the entire day. So now let's fast forward. Now you're going to see from that day on, it's essentially been the same thing. This 2271 has been tested many times. And this was the final straw. You get your sweep of this low, you get your sweep of a major macro directional pivot, a reclaim, and now it continues to hold throughout the sessions. We absolutely nailed this day and every day after that. This brings us to this new range that we've now built over the past week, which leads up to this entire Wednesday that we see here. Now, this is Thursday leading into Friday. So, my bearish bias on both NQ and SPX actually started from Thursday and Friday. That's when I really started to build more of a bearish bias for the week. Why would you have a bearish bias on the week if we're above 2271? Because now I expect the range to be built. One key factor that allowed me to have that type of conviction on a bearish bias was this rejection of 585. Now, if you see this box here, this box is a box that I drew for you guys back in July when we first traded in this range. And within this 585 range, 585, 595, okay, those are two levels that we have as key levels. This was the same demand zone that I was telling you guys to long back in July. It's the same box. All I did was extend it. I just never deleted it because I remember how pivotal it was. When we zoom in into each session, and we're going to talk a little bit more about RTH, the overnight action and pre-market, which is why it was so important for me to observe in order to find my intraday bias every single time. This rejection on Thursday was pretty key for me to start building a little bit more of a bearish bias. Now, on Friday, same thing. Friday was a beautiful range. And now we're going to start introducing our playbook range. For those who are not in my community, well, guess what? You're getting free alpha now, okay? These levels are printers for us. This entire playbook range that I've identified, and again, these are not new levels. These are all old levels that I've had on here for months. But this is the beauty of ranges. It allows me to start gauging what levels are the most pivotal and the most important. So you have 330, 371, 435, 460, 496, 511, 52. This is the entire playbook. Well, plus 2271. But this is the range that we've built above 2271. And you're going to see how 330 and 2271 play out later on as well as I go through this entire session. Now, with Friday's action for October 18th, this for on OPEX, this was not bullish to me at all. But for the day on the range, it was beautiful. All you had to do was long 460, short 496, or 511, or long 435. On that very specific day in my daily thoughts, I told you, as long as 460 and 435 holds, they're going to send it up to 496. And this ended up being the entire range for the entire day. We were capped by 528. The Thursday, right before that, when we saw this bottom, I told you guys, well, I think while we were trading at 435, I told you guys my short target is going to be 511. That's the level I'm going to short. We initially took shorts at 511, and then I reloaded at 520. The top was 528 intraday. Now, remember these things, because these things become important in the later sessions. We come into Friday, and we're seeing the same rejections. What do you think I'm shorting? I'm shorting the same exact levels that I was shorting on Thursday, the day prior. And this entire action, to me, was not bullish. And I saw my feed going crazy with this type of action. Everyone thought that we were going to pop on Monday and we were going to continue higher, etc., etc. We took SPX swings on Friday to swing into Monday. Those printed, I think, 140%, I believe, on Monday when we caught this entire downside move. Actually, the gap down first, and then this entire move. Now, come Monday, we see 371 holding. We continue to build this range. It's pretty obvious, right? You can see the 528 rejections here. You can see the bounces off 371. It's very simple. Now, throughout the week, what we needed to see hold in order to continue higher and past 585 and 595 is a break of 528 and 511 and 496. This is essentially this entire range here between 528 and 496 is your upside pivot that we've been using pretty much this entire time within the range. Now, fast forward to Tuesday. Again, we retest 585, 595, and we continue to reject it. Now, this is what's starting to build my conviction from observing these sessions. What you're going to notice is that when it comes to the RTH sessions, they like to close them strong. Okay? And it's very bull trappy. That's what I noticed. Because they would close the RTH session above 496, which is the main pivot that we focus on. They would close it above 496 just to dump it overnight. This happened on Monday night. It happened again on Tuesday night. It broke again on Tuesday leading into Wednesday morning. If I want to be bullish, I can't see 496 break overnight this many times. It already happened on Sunday night leading into Monday. It already happened Monday night. Now it's happening on Tuesday night again leading into Wednesday. The fact that they tried to close every RTH session successfully above 496, but then dumped it again overnight back below 496, which will immediately open up 435 and 371, by the way, that's bearish. There's nothing bullish about that. This is what's helping me build this conviction into Wednesday. On that same Thursday that we initially spotted this 585, I shorted 588 in pre-market. I pretty much caught the top on this. Not only that, what day was it? Was it here? Yeah, 553. On Monday, I shorted 553. So you can see my bearish buys kind of hold from the prior week all the way into this week. And again, we're focusing on intraday trading as well, right? The only time I swung indices was SPX on Friday leading into Monday. We caught that entire downside move. And then from Tuesday leading into Wednesday, 5,800 puts. And then we played the reversal on calls with QQQ leading into Friday. All right. The key factors within this range is the fact that, again, they were able to close RTH above 496, but they never held it overnight and leading into pre-market. That is extremely bearish to me. This is very bull trappy, and it's not something I would want to see if I want to continue playing above 496 and expect 638. Now, you guys know that I had this thesis that we would see one more higher high before we get the larger pullback. This pullback that we saw on Wednesday was not the pullback that I was looking for. I'm actually looking for a sub 5,700 pullback on the next downside move. I don't think it's going to happen just yet, but I do expect some more volatility coming nearing elections. But going back to this, Wednesday came around, and I was looking at the action once again in pre-market. I gave you guys an entire plan at 8:45 a.m. about how market makers will trade these ranges and exactly what they do to lure people in. And I'm telling you, this type of range that you have from the break of 2271, actually, even if you just look at this range between 19937 and 2271, this is the type of range that you can trade for weeks at a time, or even just 1 week, and it will destroy all traders, or at least people who don't know how to trade a range. This is exactly what they do. Okay. And when they start doing these closes where they close above 496 during RTH and then they dump it overnight, it completely wrecks people, because every time we get that strong close or above the key pivot, everyone is thinking we're going to break out. And again, throughout this entire range, people aren't shorting resistance and longing support like we are. During every intraday, I was able to provide you guys downside and then an immediate flip intraday to take longs on. I'm not even kidding. This range we absolutely nailed to a T. It couldn't have been executed any better than that. So we now lead into Wednesday. And again, I'm already providing you guys prep, and I knew Wednesday was going to be the day that they dumped it. Because again, going back to what I said, they closed it above 496, but then they continued to dump it overnight. I can't see that as bullish, especially when it's happened 3 times already. So when Wednesday came around, I knew that this was the day that they were going to dump it. And they were going to dump it past 2271. Because as I warned to you guys, the next break of 435, it's not going to stop at 330. And you guys know we've been eyeing this 330 level and 2271 for quite some time. The next time they break 435, it is not going to stop at 371 or 330. It's going straight to 271. And that's exactly what happened on Wednesday. Now, we took these utilizing SPX, and I'm going to go over how we nailed SPX, very similar to how we nailed NQ. But from the NQ perspective, which, again, when I trade SPX or NQ, I use them in tandem with each other. So if I long NQ, I'm taking SPX calls. If I short SPX and take SPX puts, I'm also shorting NQ. Okay? Now, going back to what I mentioned about that 20080 area. Notice how this actually marked the bottom on Wednesday? Isn't that crazy? Well, I wonder why. Because previously, earlier in the month, I had told you should long 070 to 080. Funny how that now plays out a couple weeks later, right? So these are the things that you have to pay attention to when I'm constantly giving you guys these levels and things to watch out for. Make mental notes of them, because when we trade back at them, it's going to provide the same exact reaction that I expected. Now, by the time this dump happened, we were already done. I logged off and didn't do anything. I didn't even care about the bounce. I did not care one bit about what happened until the close. And I told you guys, the sequence that I planned out for, we executed to its fullest extent, and I am done with this now. So I'm going to sit back and observe and then provide you guys the next sequence. And I warned you guys that the downside move, this is all in pre-market before market even opened, that the downside move is going to catch people with their pants down. No one's going to expect it. And that's exactly what happened on Wednesday. No one expected this type of move. We did. And we played it to its fullest extent. So when we're trading in this range, it's the same thing, right? People start trading the ranges and trading breakouts expecting the move to happen. So instead of shorting resistance, right, like we are, and then longing support like we are, they're shorting support and then longing resistance. What do you think they're doing when you're seeing such a strong close above a pivotal level? You're swinging calls. You're not expecting it to dump again. And they continue to do this for days at a time, which is why I was very clear about the fact that the next downside move is going to be something that people don't expect. And they're going to keep buying the dip. They're going to keep longing every dip, and they're going to fucking get wrecked. That's exactly what happened on Wednesday. That's the whole game. And then right after that, I told you guys the next move that I plan for is also going to catch people with their pants down. Because you know what happens now? After seeing a move like Wednesday, nobody is longing. There is absolutely no one buying this dip. Everyone is now trying to short. They've been longing, and you guys remember my message, right? From the moment I told you guys one message. They're going to keep trying to buy the dip. It won't work. That was here when we were trading at 330. From that moment, we dumped another 250 points. From the time we started breaking down all day, people are buying dips. They're buying dips here. They're buying dips here. They're buying dips here. They're buying dips here. They're still buying dips. And then finally, when we get to this point, they're no longer buying dips. Now they're shorting. I guarantee you, this is exactly how market psychology works. And this is exactly what happens in the market every single time. They're not shorting any of this. They're trying to buy every single dip that happens because they think that's it. It can't dump another 0.5% on a day or 0.25% on a day. They're trying to buy every dip here. And then when it finally hits the bottom, they're now shorting. Because let's be honest, to the average eye and to the average trader, this looks like something that could continue. So now when you look at the V-shaped reversal into close, what do you think they're doing now? They now just attempted shorts all the way down here. Now they're seeing it pop back. Now they're going to think this is going to be a dead cat bounce. Now they're shorting again here, all the way into the close, and it's not working. This is exactly what happens. So after this day, I even told you guys, after Wednesday's close, there is no one buying the dip, which provided me more confluence into playing longs. And this is the day on Thursday, right after that. By the way, it only took me 12 hours to find my next sequence. That's it. Only 12 hours. All I needed to do was remember how I played the initial sequence down, met all my targets that I was looking for, and then looked at overnight action. That was it. The moment we reclaimed 2271, and by the way, I longed this overnight, except they missed my fill by 3 ticks, which was pretty annoying. This is such an easy play. I've been telling you guys all year long. Take 2271 with no hesitation. I don't care what it is, just take it. Worst case scenario is that you take a loss, you get stopped out. But this is the easiest level to trade in the entire history of NQ. And look what happened. By the close and even overnight, we got the bullish retest off 2271 and we continue popping into the open. And on Thursday morning, I warned you guys, and this was also publicly provided, that we would see chop with a bullish bias. What did we do the whole morning when we were on stream? We chopped. What did we do the whole time? I dissected this entire range down to the minute and how you play this range. And then guess what? When we finally broke the range, we hit 2271. And guess what happened at 2271? You got the bullish retest. And I told you guys, the moment you get to 2271, they are immediately going to retest 330. That's 60 points right there. How many times did you get that? Once overnight and twice during RTH. Immediately. This is 15 minutes. 15 minutes to hit 60 points from a 271 test into 330. And then the second time as well that provided the breakout. This is the day that we bottom ticked, literally bottom ticked SPX calls on 58. And I guarantee you once again, as I've discussed the entire psychology of how this range works and what people are doing, they are not buying this dip. They are absolutely shorting this because they think they're scared already. They're already scared of Wednesday. They're not buying the dip on that. They're going to try to short now. And the same thing, they're going to get wrecked. So this is the beauty of understanding price and understanding how the market works. The whole point of having range-bound price action is to chop people out. Market makers are trying to shake everyone out. Everyone's longing resistance and shorting support. By the time this range finally breaks out, they have no money left. This came completely unexpected to everyone. And I'm telling you, everyone. Even the top traders that I watch on X, they were all long. Every single one was long. And when I sent that warning at the 330 level about how they're going to try to buy the dip and it won't work, those same people on FinSwit were still longing. So going into Thursday, I started giving you guys a bullish bias again. And this is the day that we swung QQQ calls into Friday that we hit literally right at the open. And the target that I provided you guys on 638, and I mentioned, once we reclaim this entire range that we've been utilizing as the playbook, we're going straight to 638. There's no stopping. We're not going to reject 528 again. We're not going to reject 511. We're not going to reject 496. The moment we reclaim this, and as long as we hold above 271 and 330, 638 is happening, without a doubt. Because what do I talk about when we're discussing structural reclaims? It doesn't matter what structure it is, okay? It could be a bull flag, bear flag, whatever it is. When it breaks and it reclaims, it is going to continue in that direction. Okay? So this goes for horizontal structures too, right? You get the sweep of the highs, it's going to continue in that direction. And that's exactly what we got with this move. We got the entire capitulation candle. We reclaimed 2271 at the close. And then that's it. That was the flip. And from there, we saw a 400-point move in a matter of 2 days. That's all it took, 2 sessions. All right. This is essentially how we nailed the entire session. I hope I got everything down, because as I'm going through all this, I'm trying to remember everything that I sent you guys and shared in the communities. The important factors in our success with trading this range, honestly, was just understanding my levels and utilizing them, trusting the process, and understanding price action. That's all I needed. My levels and understanding price action. And all it took, just for the past 3 days, from Wednesday into Friday, this was a culmination of observing an entire week or 2 weeks worth of price action that led to this. It's been one of my best weeks, if not the best week, in terms of execution, conviction, pretty much in my entire career. Like, we have nailed every single move down to the minute every single day. It's actually been insane to see. So this is why I really wanted to do a video on this, to make sure you guys understand and learn from this and summarize the entire range. Now, for some more forward-looking analysis, what's important is this entire rejection of 638 and a break back below 496. So this is going to be something that we have to pay attention to over the next week. It should be telling within the first couple of days, like into Tuesday or Wednesday. But as of right now, my initial thesis is that this is a bear trap. The same way that they've been bull trapping the close is the same way that they just bear trapped on Friday. Because I'm telling you, again, going back to what I just mentioned, no one expected this. So what do you think they're doing now? They were long this entire time, and they got absolutely wrecked this day. Then they see this pop, and they're still shorting it. Okay? Then they see this. All right? At this point, there's no capital left to trade. I'm telling you, at this point, they're capitulated on everything because they just got wrecked for 3, 4, 5 sessions straight. So the same market participants who have now missed this entire move. And by the way, on Friday morning, I told you guys, this is likely going to be a gap and go type of day. And it was. The moment the market opened, we didn't even see one pullback. It was gap and go. No stops. These are the things that you guys have to pay attention to. If I'm able to project the entire price action on the day before it even happens, such as expecting chop with a bullish bias or saying that it's going to be gap and go. These are things that you guys have to pay attention to and learn from. How do I spot these things? How can I project these things before market even opens? It's not rocket science. It's all about understanding price action. It's all about understanding what's happening in the previous sessions, what's happening now, and then utilizing my levels. That's it. Okay? So as of right now, I think that this leading into next week, this is actually a bear trap. No one is long in this entire move, right? They're probably shorting on Friday because they're expecting the same thing to happen. Then they finally see the close on Friday that it dumped everything back. So now they're swinging shorts and continuing their short bias. And I think they're going to get wrecked next week again. So I'm going to move on to SPX now. With SPX, 58, 60, 66 has been the main level that we've been focusing on. And again, this is a level that was added before we even saw all-time highs. Okay? This level has now become Checkmate version 3.0. For those who are in my community, you guys know exactly where Checkmate comes from. Actually, for those who even subscribe to my Substack, you'll see that level mentioned in my old publications. This is now Checkmate 3.0. This is the same level that we've been shorting pretty much the entire range. We caught this move. This was the swing that we opened on Friday, and we caught the entire move essentially on Monday. This is where that whole bearish bias played out from the week before. And then we continued to range a little bit, and we played both sides throughout this range. And here comes Wednesday, where we nailed 3 different contracts. We took a swing for Friday, we took 58.30s, and we took 58.10s. And we pretty much held almost all the way to my target. My target initially was 57.72, and I think we sold the 0 DTEs right below 5,800, and then I sold the swing somewhere down here. Okay. Now, these are all the levels that we've been focusing on. 58.42, 58.27, 58.19, 58.05. And we've also been using some gamma levels in confluence with these. And a lot of times the past week, if you guys have noticed, the gamma levels just happen to line up with my levels. And no, these levels that I have here did not originate from gamma, but it just so happens they are the same strong levels that dealers and market makers are looking at. Okay. Now, I warned you, the entire week while we were trading this, we needed to see 58.42 break in order to see 58.27. And once 58.27 broke, it would open up 58.05. And that 58.05 was a trigger for a much larger move. And when we caught the same reversal leading into Friday, I provided you guys my thesis for a new higher high, right? I said, we reclaim 58.05 and we break 58.27. This is really the major pivot into 58.60. We break that, we're going to make a pit stop at 58.60. We took calls on Friday and took profit at 58.60. Look what happened at 58.60 on Friday. We dumped the entire move back. Sold calls literally at the top. And it gave the entire move back. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I said we're going to see 58.60 and then we're going to make a pit stop there. This is your pit stop. We're going to revert the whole move back. And I'm telling you, this is going to trap people. And then we're going to see that new higher high, which is probably going to happen sometime after elections. Now, what's important to take a note of in relevance to NQ, which is why I say that the next couple of days, the first couple of days of the week will probably be pretty telling in terms of direction. NQ closed below 496, but SPX held 58.05. And those are both my key pivots that I need to see for bullish retests in order to see higher. This is going to be pretty important to watch out for. And again, Friday's close, after the bell rang, I already pretty much had this thesis that this is going to be a bear trap. So I'd like to see what happens on Monday to get a better picture. But that was my 2 sequences happening just within 3 days of each other. And it was all the prior sessions that led up to that very moment. And this is the importance of taking a look at things like this. You plan out and observe and sit back. You guys know when we start breaking towards new areas or even older areas that we're not too familiar with, I like to size down and I like to observe more. I don't take that many trades within those ranges. Once I get a better idea of a range, and you guys know this, I'm very good at trading ranges. Most people just think it's chop and they always say you shouldn't trade chop. I love it. I fucking love it. I excel at it. I don't know what it is. I'm just very good at it. My levels pay. For those who are not within my communities, you guys are all getting free alpha right now with my levels. It's all I need. That's it. So when we're looking at the entire range, I like to give it some time so I can better gauge the levels. And then from there, I can start nailing them. So the whole move with SPX, this entire dump on Wednesday, the entire dump on NQ, this was a culmination of preparation throughout the past couple of weeks that led to that very day. And we were able to nail it down in terms of timing to the exact day. Okay. And then we were able to catch the entire reversal. It was great. And that was it. It was one of my best weeks. My port hit a new high. I hope this was helpful for you guys. And I hope I covered everything I wanted to, honestly, because it was a lot going into this. But I do hope that I was able to cover everything for you guys in terms of discussing the ranges and how we traded it. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to DM me or anything like that. I know we absolutely destroyed it. Everyone who was posting their wins, it was like double digit percentages on the reports Wednesday through Friday. It was amazing to see. And again, most, if not all, your best trades actually just come from a lot of preparation and patience. Truly. And I told you guys, don't fade me. This was the highest conviction that I've had on that Wednesday and the reversal. It was the highest conviction I've had since China and Tesla. And you guys remember when I gave you Tesla in China? I gave you the entire Tesla rally in July. I gave you the entire China rotation before anyone else took it in August. This was my highest conviction trade. And when I have high conviction like this, there's nothing that can stop me from it. And it would be wise to not fade me. That's all I wanted to discuss. I'm just hoping I didn't miss anything, but if I do, for those who are in the communities, you guys already know this. You guys can just search in Discord and recap everything. But I wanted to share this to the public, mainly because I was also providing free alpha on my Instagram pages for the past few days. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask or DM me. Again, if you guys do like my content, scan this QR code next to me and you can subscribe to our Discord and join our community. If not, I hope you guys have enjoyed all this free value that I bring to both YouTube and Substack. All right. Have a great weekend, guys. Happy Halloween. Stay safe.